Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and to another reaction video. Today we're going to be watching, reviewing, and reacting to the first episode of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, a new series from Marvel that is premiering on Disney+. So the main reason that I was interested in this show in the first place was Tatiana Maslany, the actress who is playing the main character, was also the main character in a series called Orphan Black that I really loved. I find her really impressive, so that's kind of the main thing that's drawing me into this. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I'm filming this introduction after I have already reacted to and seen the first episode. Now, what basically happened is my computer updated and it decided that it was going to no longer recognize my microphone, and I didn't know that that had happened, so I filmed the entire reaction to this episode and it's all there, but there's no audio for my voice, which is incredibly annoying. So during there's sound for the show, so you don't have to worry about that. But during the actual reaction part of this video, it's going to be a lot of facial expressions, and maybe I'll just film a couple quick things to throw in there to say, like, I said this here or something along those lines. But then the actual discussion of my thoughts, of course, I will refilm, and then I'll put that at the end so you guys can know what I was thinking about it. But just to give you a heads up that this is a little bit different than most of my reactions in that regard, just because, you know, technology likes to screw up sometimes. But all right, so without wasting any more time, let's get into episode 1. Here we go.
What is the responsibility of those with power? Do they merely have an obligation to refrain from the misuse of that power? Or do they have a duty to protect those without it? The defendant used their limitless resources, political and monetary, for financial gain.
So at this point, I was definitely thinking that there's a chance that that was going to be the overall theme of the show.
They did this because they believed they would not be held accountable, that their power shielded them from very real consequences. That's not the case.
We do the closing.
Dennis, you aren't aware of this, but I will kill you and Jen won't prosecute. So I'm gonna get away with it.
Only because it's a conflict of interest, not because I condone murder. Bye, Dennis.
You're gonna listen to a paralegal over another lawyer?
This guy is so annoying.
This is unprofessional.
That was so good. It was so good. Seriously? How you used the weight of civic duty during your closing argument. I almost...
Yeah, about that. It's true. I am a Hulk. And I'm guessing you're not going to be able to focus on this fun lawyer show until you know all about that.
Yeah, so this was the point when I was starting to wonder about the breaking the fourth wall concept. That clearly it showed that it was going to be something they were doing.
I mean, my arm started to heal, and no one thought it was that.
Yes, that Bruce. To world-threatening disaster. That's when he's not a fugitive from the law, right? So it seems like he was...
Her logic made perfect sense to me. I don't know about you guys.
Everything that I've already told you about my friend and colleague.
Obviously, Captain America wasn't first.
Look out!
Yeah, so I basically guessed at this point that she was probably going to get some of his blood inside of her, and that was going to lead to the transformation, and then, of course, it was immediately confirmed.
Get away!
Which I had been wondering ahead of time how it was actually going to happen.
You with anyone?
I'm waiting for my ride.
What's your name?
I think my boyfriend's just...
Oh, come on, where you going? Let us keep you
Hey,
company.
we're just being friendly.
Yeah, where you going? So what, you two gonna talk to us?
Wait, did we hit a spaceship?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this, and even at the end I didn't, like, what is, how is that gonna come back into play? Is it gonna be in this show? It like seems so crazy to just pass over it.
Dose of gamma radiation.
Lethal? As in I'm gonna die?
No, there was more to it that I'm going to explain.
That is not the sentence to take a pause on, Bruce.
Okay. Look. You and I, we share a rare combination of genetic
Yeah, and this I
factors
was also
that
speculating
allow
on
us
whether
to
it would happen to
synthesize
anyone, or
gamma
if it's just
radiation
because she's
into
related to
something.
him and they did confirm
So
it.
I got my own option. office. I have
Jen,
business
this is
cards.
it. There is no going back to what you were before. Oh, what? Jen, what is it? What do you need?
This was one of the best
Feeling
parts
better?
because I was like, yeah, if I ever like am upset and you need to make me feel better, it's the same thing. You can
I
make
know
me
this is
breakfast
hard to
food
hear, but
and
you're gonna have to,
it'll help.
Hulk.
These transformations are triggered by distressed emotional states, so we need to know the exact threshold that causes it for you.
Ooh, put on a Pixar movie. When Bing Bong jumps out of
No,
the wagon
oh.
and
If you guys haven't seen that,
No.
oh my
Stop.
god, it's
I
so
need to
depressing.
focus. Get up!
What do you normally use this chamber for, you psychopath?
Yes, yes. Whoa, 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 easy, girl, easy.
Why are you talking to me like I'm a stray horse?
Jen?
Yeah?
Wait, you're still Jen? Right now?
Yeah? And I'm conscious.
This is incredible. You don't have an alter ego. You're the only one in there?
As far as I can tell.
This is huge.
The
Jen.
upgraded version.
I think I'm jealous. Is that what I'm feeling? I'm feeling. You don't have another guy to wrestle with for 10 years. Just trying to show you how it's done.
I'm shown.
Yeah. Being a Hulk asks for balance.
You built this bar by hand?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, me and Tony. Well, Tony mostly drank. Just sat around.
I really liked all these references to him and Tony, you know, their relationship.
It was a good time during a hard time.
Fire.
Bruce, I'm not gonna be a superhero.
What else you gonna do as a Hulk?
Return to my career that I have spent years building. Use my law degree that I am still paying off a fortune in student loans for.
It's not one or the other, Jen. I am trying to show you that we can live between what we want and what is.
Yeah, so at this
We
point I
can't
was thinking
pretend
about,
like we are
again,
two of the few
bringing it
people
back to
on
the
Earth
quote
that
at the
can actually
beginning in her
protect
speech and like the
which is why
potentially the
we have to
overall
make sure
theme
your
of the show
ability
that
to
might
tolerate
be coming out.
your anger.
Well, here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. But when I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult or might just
I was really
literally get
surprised here
murdered.
that they
So
actually
I'm an
decided to
expert at
directly
controlling
go
my
there,
anger
but
because I do
I'll talk
it
about that more
infinitely
later in the
more than you. So all of this
conclusion.
just feels like projecting a lot of shit onto me.
See.
No, I'm doing this.
Okay, this is completely new territory.
You guys have outgrown your binder, cuz. Love you, Bruce, but I'm going home.
No, do your thing. Oh. Right now in front of everybody? Yes. Come on. Jen. Shoes. Thank you. Okay.
Who the hell are you? Jennifer Walters, attorney at law. I'm ready to give my closing argument now.
Girl in 1943 on the USO tour.
Yes, I knew it.
She's so happy about this.
You're not drunk?
Captain America! Fuck!
Okay, and that was episode 1 of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. So my thoughts on this. First of all, I feel like I haven't gotten well enough into the series to form a full concrete opinion about the overall quality of the show. But what I can say, just based on this first episode, which was relatively short, is that I was entertained the whole time while watching it. So I found it very funny, as you'll be able to tell. Most of the way through, I was laughing quite a bit and enjoying a lot of the dynamic between Jen and Bruce. There was some moments that I feel like were a little much or dragged a little long. I felt like the fight between the two of them was a little like, I don't know, too much perhaps, but I really liked all their training scenes and everything. So far I'm really kind of just enjoying a comedic Marvel show, and I'm wondering if going forward, if this is going to be a primarily comedic show. This is something that people were wondering about to begin with. You know, Marvel tends to like to combine more serious, dramatic storylines with elements of comedy, and sometimes it works better than others, you know. Sometimes it doesn't work out that well at all, at least in my opinion. So I'm curious to see if this is going to be like a straight up comedy with just like some action thrown in, or if there's going to be a more dramatic kind of undertone that's going to come in later, because this episode to me was straight up comedy with some action. So we'll see what happens with that. Part of me feels like just making it a comedy might be the way to go, but I honestly, I guess we'll have to see what happens before I can make any serious or actual judgment on whether that's the right direction specifically for this material and this series. There was little moments in it that was talking about Bruce and Tony's friendship quite a bit, and even a mention of Natasha, so that was nice. There was little like moments in there for poor Bruce. But anyway, moving on from that, I think it is interesting that they are kind of making her distinguishable from Hulk in the sense that she comes into it with a lot of control already in place. She can already decide to transform back. She's not at the whim of basically another personality that she somehow has to control or try to integrate herself with, the way that Bruce did. And I did think it was funny how he was very jealous of this. I am curious as to why that is the case, and I wonder if that's something that they're going to discuss in more detail. Is it just because he had already gone through the process of figuring out how to integrate himself before she got his blood into her system? Or is there just something else about how the way that it specifically impacted her? I don't know. Or, I mean, does it just come back to like what she was saying about how she's always trying to control her anger? I feel like it can't be just that, because the other kind of personality is still a thing that you're wondering, why didn't that happen to her? So I'm curious to see if they're going to talk about that more in any detail going forward, or if it's just like supposed to be understood that it's because Bruce was already integrated. But I do think it's a good decision because it makes the character distinct in a way that she's not just like girl Hulk, you know, even though She-Hulk is the title, it lends itself to different storytelling dramatics. So it's not all about her trying to deal with controlling her anger and the repercussions of having this other being kind of taking over at various times. It's not just a rehash of Bruce's story, but told from her point of view. Instead, it's a question about choices that she's going to make, and what to do with the powers that are given to her, which I think comes back to what they were saying at the beginning. And one of the things that I was mentioning that you can't hear is like during the opening where she was practicing for her arguments in court, I felt like that was maybe kind of hint of the thematic undertone of the series as a whole, or maybe what it was going to be, about her trying to decide, you know, how much responsibility do I have to engage in this heroic type behavior, even if I don't want to, even if it causes harm to my life or the type of life I wanted to have. You know, how much responsibility do I have to do it anyway, and how much choice do I actually have in the matter? Like what obligations do I have? And that, of course, came back again with her discussion with Bruce, and then the final scene in the courtroom where she is like, all right, I gotta do this now. I have to save these people, even though it was done in a comedic way. So I'm assuming that that's kind of going to be the overall dramatic, like, tension that she has with what she's coming to terms with. But we'll see how that ends up developing. She's now clearly going to be in the spotlight. That's going to get a lot of attention, so a lot of the choice maybe is going to be out of her hands, at least for a bit going forward, and it's certainly going to push her life in a different direction. I also did think it was very interesting that they kind of repeatedly touched on the idea that as a woman, you're dealing with living in like a condition of fear and sometimes a lot of anger that you can't show because of the potential consequences, and you're feeling that way like a lot of the time. I didn't really expect them to go there, actually explicitly go there. Like they showed the scene of the three guys like accosting her, and that's when she hulks out, and Bruce comes in and stops her from doing anything. This is right after she's just been exposed to his blood, and I had actually said in my reaction that, you know, it was something to think about, that if you have to constantly be worried about transforming if you're angry or afraid, then that's kind of a different dynamic if you are a woman, because that's a state that you end up living in quite a lot of the time. And then I was surprised that they actually went and directly talked about that later on in the episode. But it also does seem to me like they kind of get around having to deal with that issue on a larger scale by making her be in control of her transformations already. So, but it's something to think about if there was a She-Hulk who wasn't in control of her transformations, like how often potentially she would be in that state, and like how much like would she have to even isolate herself more than Bruce did, or what would be the actual circumstances. And I do just think it's kind of interesting that they went with that discussion, as I'm sure that there's some people that are not gonna be happy that that was talked about or even mentioned at all, but I do think it is kind of significant, so I was interested in that conversation personally anyway. And then the other thing that I wanted to touch upon is the breaking of the fourth wall. So obviously it happened at the beginning, as part of her narration of the story of how she became a Hulk. And then there was the little moment of it that we saw in the preview that then later was in the episode during the bar reconstruction scene. And I was curious going into this whether breaking the fourth wall was going to be a significant part of the show, as like just one of the elements of how the story is told. And this episode kind of makes it seem as though it will be, though I'm still uncertain because of the fact that it could just be kind of tied into the telling of the backstory. But I feel as though that wouldn't have really been like necessary to add that in just for one episode, and that would be kind of strange. So I'm assuming that it is going to be something that continues going forward, and that's something that we'll just have to wait and see also, again, how well it works. I feel like it worked in this episode. We'll see going forward how much we like it, because that is something that's also kind of difficult to deal with, and sometimes works very well in shows and films, and sometimes works awfully. So we will see. But so far, I thoroughly enjoyed and was entertained by this episode, and so I'm looking forward to seeing more. And apologies once again for the weirdness of the audio during the actual reaction itself. Trust me when I say I'm not pleased either about the circumstances, but it is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up here. Leave your thoughts in the comments, please. I want to know how you felt about the episode, the series so far, what you think is going to be happening going forward. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye!